The One Micronesia Podcast is brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Better together.
Hot day, guys, and we're back with another episode of the One Micronesia Podcast. And in this one, man, I am happy. I had him on the podcast a couple episodes back. You know, we had him on with Matt, and we talked about a really amazing run that they did. Walk. I mean, talk about walking the whole island of Guam. This guys, they did it, but we didn't really go into depth of what I kind of wanted to talk with him today. So I was like, you know, at one point in time, I would really want to get this guy back on the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, with me on the podcast today, the one, the only, representing Marianas and Micronesia, Frank the Crank Camacho is on my show today. I know I didn't do it like Bruce Buffer does it, bro, but I tried. But welcome to the show, bro.
Hey, man, thank you. Thanks for having me. Watch out, dude. You might be the next PXC announcer. Watch out, Chris. Watch out, Chris.
But bro, thank you so much, man. I know we hung out and we talked off camera, just the boys chilling, and we kind of got into some of the talks about Micronesia and the Marianas and stuff like that. So I've always wanted to have that talk with you, just really didn't have the time. You were always busy, you were always flying out and stuff. So I think today and this was just like a blessing to really have you on here, get a one-on-one with you and the people as well to really get to know you. So again, I'm excited for what's to come.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. I'm a huge fan of the show.
Oh, thank you, Frank. So, I mean, let's start it off. Every time I do start off the show, I have guests on. I just want people to get to know them before we get into depth into a different topic or issue. But so for you, obviously people know you, Frank the Crank, UFC fighter representing the Marianas and Micronesia. But let's go back in time. I think people should know that. I think people should always have that, at least a backstory of who you are and how it all started for you. So let's start there. How did it all start for you?
Yeah, so I guess let me just as a quick intro, man, Frank the Crank Camacho. I am 32 years young now and been fighting and training mixed martial arts since the age of 14, 15. I like to say born on Guam, raised in Saipan, but home to me is the Marianas, and even more so now as I grow and I just learn more about our region, man, home to me is Micronesia, if you really think about it, you know what I mean? So it all started. So growing up, I never really played any physical sports. Played golf since the age of 5, and I was playing it religiously at the age of 7. With that, I was your heavyset kid. And I was going into high school. I was like, man, I need, I came from a very small to a big high school. Man, I want to meet new people, new friends, and meet new chicks. You know what I mean? I was like, I need to get in shape, but there was no way that I was going to go running. Like, I hated running. I was like, man, why am I going to go out there and just freaking, where am I going to run to this point and back? Like, dude, that's dumb. That was my mentality back then. And I had a friend who was doing NHB at the time. This is what MMA was called back in the day. It was called NHB. And I was like, whoa, this is kind of cool. At the time, I think they just had a in Tinian. And, that was the talk of the town, right? This was pre-Facebook, pre-social media time. So everyone was talking about it. So I just remember hearing all the toughest guys from Saipan got decked by all the guys from Guam. And I was like, whoa, there's these guys from Guam, they just took all them down and got on top and just pounded them, but and none of the guys, so this is like, oh man, our superheroes, freaking, were wrecked, you know what I mean? So, but there were these guys, but I knew that they were teaching this thing at this gym. It wasn't even called Trench Tech yet, So, but my friend, it was like the secret society, you know what I mean? It was like, oh man, I know these guys. These guys are like a fight club, whatever. So I rode with him, and I was just so interested. I wanted to see, right? I was a Bruce Lee fan. I knew what the UFC was because I remember seeing the VHSs. The VHS of the guy holding the globe.
The globe, yeah.
Yeah, the globe, you know what I mean? And I remember just seeing them at the VHS stores, or at the video stores. So I'll be like, okay, I know this concept. You know what I mean? I went into the gym. It was like a big warehouse, and it was a boat warehouse. It was like they were fixing boats, you know. And you walk in, you know, it smell like fiberglass, smell like oil, and you're just, what the heck? And you go inside, and there was Cookie Alvarez's gym. So I just remember I went in, and then we're just doing all these jujitsu rolls. You know, I'd never done this stuff before. You know, I was like, oh man, I thought we were gonna go punch each other. You know what I mean? Like, no, we were like, it was like immediately the camaraderie with like the guys. You know what I mean? Fight gym, and guys were getting ready for fights, but they were learning. You know what I mean? They were hungry to learn, and it was cool. It was cool. I just remember being so freaking exhausted and tired. I after we all sparred, and I want to go tomorrow, you know? How the heck did, like, man, my arm was going to break like this when I said tap, and I tapped, and then how do I stop that? You know, like, oh man, I was getting choked. How do I stop that? You know, the wheels were spinning, and I was just so intrigued by the art. Mm-hmm. On different days, it was different martial arts, right? So one day would be boxing, one day would be kickboxing, one day would be wrestling, one day would be grappling, you know? So I was just learning all these different things at once. And I was just like coming every day. And then I was finally getting better, you know? A few months in, 6 months in, I think is when it was like, ooh, I started to catch the guys, you know, like, oh, okay, all right. Oh, I tapped you out. Okay. You know, 8 months in. And then, you know, long story short, mm-hmm. Cookie threw a show called Trench Wars. And long story short, I fought this guy. Cookie set up the fight. Bernie, the Shadow of Death. Nah, you know, I was like, good God, this is my first fight. And then fighting the Shadow of Cookie was just notorious for making really cool freaking fight names. You know, he gave me my fight name. I never wanted a fight name. And yeah, so I fought Bernie. I just remember walking in. We fought in that very same warehouse. You know, they just welded a fence together. It wasn't even like, and then I just remember it was 400 people, hot as hell, dude. It was so hot, and I was like the last fight, and I just remember walking. I was like, man, what am I doing, dude? This is freaking wild, you know. Like, you know, growing up, I was never really a confrontational kid. You know, I never got in. Till this day, I've never got into a street fight, and you know, you never pick fights on the golf course. You know, right. Really. So I went in there, man. We threw exchanges. We got into the freaking your typical Chamorro headlock. You know, I got into a Chamorro headlock. He was freaking headlocking me, and then I grabbed his leg. I picked him up, and I slammed him, and I won via KO, via slam.
Wow.
And I just remember I just remember after that, I was yelling and I was doing, you know, not my typical self, right? But whatever was just coming out, you know? And I was just like, dude, that was freaking cool. I'm going to do this stuff, man. This is dope. So that was kind of the start of it.
You started in Trench Wars, and you did, you know, some fights along the way, and then you moved up to I guess the next level in our region in the Pacific, which is PXC. And I remember the feeling of wanting to fight. You know, that was the goal. You know, like, man, I want to make it to the PXC. Like, the field house, man. I gotta fight in the field house. You know, because growing up, like, I would watch the Furies, I would watch the PXCs in the field house. You know, man, the Big Johns fought there. The Terrence Aflaguis fought there. The Steve Robertos fought there. You know, like all these guys from off island, you know what I mean, were fighting at the field house. And that's where I wanted to be, you know. So like I just kept training, kept fighting, and I fought at the field house at 9-0, you know, 9 wins and 0 losses at my record. Wow.
So it took me 9 fights, you know what I mean, to get to the PXC. And then also too, it was difficult because I was underage. I wasn't 18. I got the call to fight Luigi Fioravante from American Top Team. Ken actually called me up. Hey, Crank, man, we got this guy, man. You want to take a fight on Guam? And I was like, hell yeah, dude. Who? Luigi Fioravante. You know, I was like, oh snap! I totally know this guy. You know, he was training with like Thiago Alves and all the American Top Team guys. Like doing some research on him, and I was like, yo, this guy he's a 5-time UFC vet at the time, mm-hmm. and he just beat the former middleweight champion of the UFC, Dave Manet, and then he just fought he just fought and lost a decision to Chris Lieben, you know? So I'm just like, holy cow, dude, I'm going to fight this guy. And I'm just like, from this kid from Saipan, you know, I just freaking finished my senior exams, you know? I just finished my senior exams and I'm going to get hurt. What am I doing? And then I just remember right before I walked out, I was like, you know what? F this, dude. I am going to go balls to the wall. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to have to, like, I'm just going to have to freaking give it everything I got, you know? I went in there, dude. Overhand rights, left hooks. You know what I mean? I was just throwing big shots, and I was tagging, we were exchanging. And then he eventually started taking me down. And I haven't seen the fight, but I would like to think that it was pretty competitive. You know, in the first round, man, he was taking me down. He was trying to avoid my big strikes. And then went into the second round and I was like, whoa, dude, we got this guy, man. I just gotta hit him right, you know? Second round comes, we're exchanging again. He was going for the takedowns, and then he threw an elbow and cut me. And it was a doctor stoppage. The doctor had to stop it.
Oh, wow.
So he won via doctor stoppage, you know what I mean? And I just remember going to GMH, getting stitched up, and then flying back home. This is the life-changing point in my career. It was I arrived back in Saipan. I live right by the airport. So my dad picked me up in the truck, you know. I threw my bag in the back. I jumped in the back of the truck, you know, and I just got in the back of the truck with the stitches in my swollen eye. We're driving through the village. It was like 5:00 p.m. and just driving through the village, you know, you see the dogs, you see the freaking people outside, you know what I mean? And I was just like, yo, I just gave a 5-time UFC vet a run for his money, you know? Mm-hmm. And this truck freaking heading home in Dandan in Saipan, you know what I mean? Like, I'm riding in the back of the truck, dude. I'm an island boy, you know? Like, I can do this shit, you know what I mean? That's when I realized that, yo, I can really do something with this. And that was even though it was a loss, you know, the way I lost was kind of like, whoa, like, you know, there's one thing if you just knocked me out in the first 10 seconds, I'd be like, oh, okay, maybe I need to think about this freaking thing, you know? But man, I was very competitive in the fight, you know, arguably could have been winning the fight. I was like, yo, I can do this. And that was the pivotal point to where I knew I was going to dedicate my life to this thing.
So we'll be back with Frank the Crank Camacho to talk about that part of his life. Guys, you're watching the One Micronesia Podcast, being brought to you by Docomo Pacific, better together.
It only gets better with more. Customize and save with the fastest internet speeds in the Marianas by adding mobile, phone, and TV to your bundle with Business Bundles Plus. Docomo Pacific Business. Work better together.
For the different beats of your life, we're here to keep you connected the way you want it. Plans made for you, by you. Build your own bundle with Link. Select the internet, entertainment, mobile, and home phone plans that fit your lifestyle. Pay for what you want, not for what you don't. Build your own bundle and save with Link.
Hafide, Mogasin, and we're back with the One Micronesia Podcast, brought to you by Docomo Pacific, better together. And again, we're still here with the one, the only, representing Marianas and Micronesia in the highest level of MMA there is, the UFC. Frank the Crank Camacho here with me to talk about more of how his life. We started with talking about how he first, went from golfing to a warehouse where he didn't know what was happening, but he was like, yo, that looks cool. I want to try it out. And how he went from there to winning his first MMA fight pretty much in Saipan, and then moving on. And he told us his story all the way to leading up to a point where it was a pretty much a life-changing moment for him. And then now we're going to get back into it to kind of talk about his last couple years and fights in the PXC before we head into the UFC. So Frank, thank you so much, my brother, for hanging around, man.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, we're back.
We're back. So Frank, let's talk about it. Let's start with the last couple fights in the PXC before the transition.
Yeah. So I after my Luigi Fioravanti fight, I knew I wanted to pursue it. So long story short, I found a gym in the States, and instead of pursuing this golf career and school, I was like, you know what? I told my parents, I was like, man, mom and dad, like, if I go to college, I'm really just gonna skip out on class and find a gym. You know what I mean? So that's just me being brutally honest. That's where I was at, and so I moved out to the States. I found a gym, and I lived out there for 6 years, and I didn't fight for 6 years. I really worked on building my skill set in jiu-jitsu and boxing, and kickboxing, wrestling, and judo. I came back home, and I came back home, and I knew that the UFC was having 7 to 8 shows a year in the Asia region. PXC was a very prominent show in our region, and I didn't want to fight stateside because I knew it was a very saturated kind of market, so many fighters or so many whatever. So I was like, you know what? Let me build my name back home with the name of PXC. Came back home and I started fighting, and I was fighting the who's who of Asian MMA, Korean top team, you name it, and I was able to build my record and just kind of stay ready. I had some really good wins. I had some tough losses, but I just kept building my record, getting my reps in. And then next thing you know, I fought in Saipan, had an epic fight. And then 2 weeks later, there was a UFC Singapore, and someone got injured, and they needed someone from the region to fill in the spot. I was there, you know what I mean? So I was there. They gave me a call through my management team, shout out to Iridium Sports Agency and Jason House. They gave me the call, and I took the fight in 2 weeks notice. And next thing you know, I was on a plane to Singapore to make my UFC debut. So check this out, man. I was 28 years old, I think, 28. I already had a kid, and I just got married. And I was really at this point where I've been chasing this dream for 14 years. I was about to throw in the towel, bro. I was about to quit. I was like, man, what am I doing, man? I got a kid, like I'm still doing this fighter, this whole fighting lifestyle. Like I got a wife, and this thing is, the glory of it is not really, there's no real, like, it's a tough life, bro. Like you're fighting not only in the cage, but you're fighting in life. And we got the call finally, you know what I mean? Finally, 14 years, dude. 14 years of chasing this thing, you know what I mean? And it was great, and it was in Singapore, you know what I mean? UFC Singapore. So like I was just like, oh, okay, everything was just so fast. I got my medicals done, so I took the fight in 10 days notice.
Wow.
It was a last minute call, yeah. Medicals done, had to get get my cornerments, send my sizing, book my flights. Next thing you know, I'm landing in Singapore. We're at the Marina Bay Sands. We're like, oh, what the heck? Holy cow, UFC fighters there walking through it. So it happened so fast, but at the same time, I've been so prepared for that moment, because for 14 years I've been drilling in my head exactly the things that I wanted to say. Like, oh man, if I was here, oh man, if I was walking down, before I get into the octagon, I would do this, so like I had everything orchestrated in my head. So, but when it actually came to be, it was like, wow, the UFC has always been the goal. But then when I got into the UFC, it's like, whoa, we're here. Whoa, this is just the beginning again, This is just the beginning. I'm still an infant in this game, even though I think I made it to the pinnacle, So I still feel like an infant, and I'm still learning. It's crazy.
Amen. Frank the Crank Camacho, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to get into depth into something that me and Frank have talked about for a long time, and we kind of wanted to just chop it down here on the podcast to kind of really get into detail. It's the love for Marianas and Micronesia. That is on the way right here on the One Micronesia Podcast. We'll be right back.
It only only gets better with more. Customize and save with the fastest internet speeds in the Marianas by adding mobile, phone, and TV to your bundle with Business Bundles Plus. Docomo Pacific Business. Work better together.
For the different beats of your life, we're here to keep you connected the way you want it. Plans made for you, by you. Build your own bundle with Link. Select the internet, entertainment, mobile, and home phone plans that fit your lifestyle. Pay for what you want, not for what you don't. Build your own bundle and save with Link.
Hafaday, Mogasin, and we're back. It's the One Micronesia Podcast. We brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Better together. All right, let's chop it up. I mean, wow. So far, man, the story. You know, some of it I never knew. He talked about some of how it all started for him. And I got that through some interviews, but I never knew that it was a warehouse where they build boats, you know, where it all started for him, or the fact that he played golf before he got into MMA. I didn't know that. That could be a trivia down the line, you know, a Frank the Crank trivia. That'd be something to throw out there for people to know that, you know, not every fighter has to just start like a Spartan, like straight into like, you know. Some of us and some fighters, you know, start with doing something they love and then transition. And I think that was how it happened for Frank the Crank. So we heard that part. We heard how it went for him. His first win in MMA, his transition to PXC, his transition to the UFC. We learned, you know, his story as he's cruising through his career, which is still pretty much alive today. So we're back here with Frank the Crank Camacho. Brother, thank you again for sticking around and just talking, bro. I love it. It's been interesting.
Man, conversations, bro. I love it, dude. I love it.
So, you know, Frank, I made this part of it to just be about the thing that we've always talked about, and it's about Marianas and Micronesia. And you're out there and you're representing both, and you're representing a region that we talked about earlier before we went into break about your region that not a lot of people know, but now people are starting to research about it because they see you take the octagon. Bruce Buffer calls out representing Guam and the Marianas. People are like, where is this? And start hitting the search engines. And now people are starting to realize where on earth we are and who we are as people, and the different cultures that come out of the region. So, bro, let's talk about that. Marianas, Micronesia, what does it mean to you?
You know, so I am who I am because of the Marianas. You know, I am who I am because of Micronesia, you know, and everyone that I grew up with, you know, from this whole region, you know. So it is, it's very special to me. And, you know, like, yeah, like I mentioned before, like I just can't wait to really show the world where we come from, you know. I owe it to myself and I owe it to my family to continue to the outer islands of Micronesia. You know, all I really know about is you know, from the people that live here, you know what I mean? All the stories and the of Chuk, of Palau, of like all, you know, of you know, all of FSM, like all just from my experiences from the people that I met here. And I would love to just go and continue to like just learn more about our island group and our community, you know, like so intriguing. It's like man, really the best places in the world. So yeah, man, I'm just so fascinated by it.
You know, it's amazing to see how, and I think your spirit too says a whole lot of Micronesia and the Marianas. You know, you have that spirit with you every time you enter the octagon. Either if it's a W or a loss, you always still have that smile and that camaraderie and just shake hands after the fight. I think you have that in you. It's not like other fighters when they're done, they're just like talking smack and talking about another fight, a rematch. You know, for you, it's all, you know, smiles and just, you know, fist bumps and, you know, good job, good fight. And I think you're always about that vibe. And I think, you know, that also tells the people of how you were brought up and where you were brought up from and what region, and you take it with you all the way into the octagon.
Yeah, man, it's kind of tough. It's kind of hard. I always think about it like, how do I become? It's so hard to be disrespectful and Mr. Tough Guy. When I'm looking out this window and I'm seeing a freaking epic sunset every day. People say, what is the saying? Life is not always sunsets and rainbows, or sunshine and rainbows. But actually, here it is, dude. I see it every day here. Life here is really sunshines and rainbows. So there's no room in my heart, or in our spirit to have, disrespect and all this and that. So I'm a big believer, now that I'm a father, I try my best to, I feel like my boys and my daughter that'll be growing, she's only 4 months, but my boys really learn by example. So I think that's the best way to lead and the best way to teach them, you know what I mean? And I'm just so blessed that the Marianas and Micronesia and my parents and my family have molded me to be the way that I am, and really it's just not only my family, but also the environment of this place and this land. It's very special and it's very powerful.
Guys, we're going to take a break right now. We'll be back to pretty much close things off with Frank the Crank here. You're watching the One Micronesia podcast being brought to you by Docomo Pacific, better together.
It only gets better with more. Customize and save with the fastest internet speeds in the Marianas by adding mobile, phone, and TV to your bundle with Business Bundles Plus. Docomo Pacific Business. Work better together.
For the different beats of your life, we're here to keep you connected the way you want it. Plans made for you, by you. Build your own bundle with Link. Select the internet, entertainment, mobile, and home phone plans that fit your lifestyle. Pay for what you want, not for what you don't. Build your own bundle and save with Link.
Hafide and Mogasin, and welcome back to the One Micronesia Podcast, brought to you by Docomo Pacific, better together. And we're back here for the last part with the one, the only. It's the UFC's very own, representing Marianas and the region of Micronesia, Frank the Crank Camacho. Frank, bro, man, it's so sad to get to this part of the podcast because I always enjoy it until this part, but it always has to happen with due to time constraints. But Frank, again, thank you so much, bro, for sticking around and just chit-chatting.
Dude, thank you for having me. Super stoked, huge fan of the show, and I am looking forward to more positive and great stories to be catching on One Micronesia. So, dude, really stoked, man. Thank you for having me, and thank you to all the listeners, to all the fans, and may we all just continue to live the island dream, the island spirit, and just kind of make this place just a little better every day.
Amen. Frank the Crank, ladies and gentlemen. So, Frank, before you let us go, let us know where people can go follow you, follow your journey, and stuff like that.
Check me out if you're on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. You can catch some of my vlogs on YouTube, frankthecrank.com. I have a TikTok. I don't dance, but I have a TikTok. Maybe Vic can be a freaking guest dancer, but just, man, please, if you have any questions or just want to tune in or just even say what's up, I'm pretty good at responding to messages. So yeah, just hit me up anytime. And Vic, thank you so much, man, for having me. And what better way to close it with a great saying, Docomo Pacific, really better together.
Of course. And like I said, Frank, thank you so much, my bro. And bro, we are behind you. Like I told you, I know you already know this. Marianas is behind you, but the whole region of Micronesia, like there has to be one. My cousins ask about you, and they're like, yo, how do you know this guy? And I'm like, he's Frank, before, he's as a fighter, yes, but also as a proud Micronesian. I know him, I just know him by heart, and he's such a really cool, down to earth guy. And they're like, "You sure, bro? He looks like you like get down and fight." I'm like, no, that's not Frank the Crank, guys. Frank the Crank is the guy that will help you move something from, will definitely help you move groceries from the store to your car. That's the type of person he is, So he's as Islander as you guys are. So definitely. And like you said, hit him up, man. If you guys have any questions, future MMA fighters from the region of Micronesia. I know there will be young. I think there's a time to ask this question. So Frank, for those Micronesians watching you right now, and it doesn't matter where they're from Saipan, from Guam, from Palau, all the way from the Marshalls, from Chuuk, from Pohnpei, from Kashrai, from Yap, and they want to get into the sport, but you know how crazy it is back home. What message would you have for these young individuals?
I highly recommend finding a gym. Finding a reputable academy, a professional academy, and doing what you need to do to find a gym. I get these messages all the time. How do I get into the UFC? It's like, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of work. But it really comes to finding a good academy with a good coach and good guidance with great teammates, and just clocking in every day as much as you can and just get those reps in. But find a really good gym and continue to grow and get your reps in.
Frank, man, bro, thank you so much again for taking the time. And that pretty much closes things off. Frank, thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day. One Micronesia.
All right. There you have it, guys. That pretty much wraps up another episode of the One Micronesia Podcast, brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Better together. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
The One Micronesia Podcast is brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Better together.